Salutations, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. V back with another casted game of Age of Empires 3. This time we have a Spanish mirror featuring two of the top players in the community. You will frequently find these guys at the very top of the leaderboards, especially one of our players, but I don't want to spoil it just yet. Let's start with the introductions. In the south of the map, playing in the color blue as Spain, we have ChefSudiste, who almost always is going to be found in the top 20. I think I just saw him crack the top 10 of the leaderboard not too long ago, but the top 20, they are constantly changing because the competition there is so close. And in the north of the map, playing in the color red as the Spanish as well, we have none other than Revnak on one of his multiple accounts. Both players going for the early trading post. This is quite a fun map for Spain. We have 5 TPs. We have a little bit of water play on the opposite side. We have plenty of fish and even some whales. So we could see some mid to late game water boom, especially out of players this high level. When the competition is this fierce, anything that can give you an edge is going to be super important. But it looks like both players going to be going with the 3 settlers, almost identical in their shipment progression. Chef just a little bit ahead. Treasures have been pretty equal, and I'm really excited because I don't often get to see top players playing mirrors. And so to see the same Civ being, utilized by 2 players of very high level is going to be really fun to watch, because same roster, same units, and probably a very similar strategy unless somebody decides to do something wonky. I mean, we did just see the French Old Guard in our last game, so we could be in for anything. Meanwhile, Revnak is going to be picking up 50 XP while Chef picks up what looks to be 50 coin. And both players going to follow up their 3 settlers with capitalism. Both have not clicked in quite yet, but both players probably going to be looking to do something fairly economic focused. I don't think we'll see anything hyper aggressive out of Spain, but if we look at Revnak's scouting, his scouting pattern is quite good, and so is Chef's. Neither has discovered the other yet, but I think they can make a safe guess as to what the other player is doing. So, going to be interested to see if any of them try to dominate the trading post early or the water. But meanwhile, just getting their hunts in. Chef doing a nice job getting this herd of ibex close to his town center. Meanwhile, Revnak is going to be starting that herding soon. Has clicked up to the 2nd age. Revnak a little bit ahead in his age up time, while Chef picks up the 50 XP of his own. Meanwhile, Revnak picking up 40 coins. So very close in the treasures. Revnak simultaneously picking up his 2nd and 3rd hunt. And he does have an ibex herd right here. He's got a lot of food. He's herding 3 hunts in all at once. Really nice micro from him. Meanwhile, just the 1 herd coming in from Chef. So Revnak winning by just a bit in the herding battle. And it looks like Chef is going to be picking up a 2nd trading post very early on. Both players have a ton of vills on wood. And let's take a look at the decks here. Okay, so 4 vil, 5 vil, resources. Okay, Rodelero. Okay, so we do have some water cards here for Revnak. And we have an almost identical deck from Chef. Okay, so yeah, very similar timings, very similar decks, but we have 2 forward villagers from Chef getting on this coin mine. And has Revnak seen these vills? He has not. He's actually getting cornered by this war dog, which is going to go down. Revnak making a 2nd war dog to compensate. And Chef going to be losing that scout. He definitely is hoping that Revnak does not see these vills. Meanwhile, Revnak putting down a forward base of his own right on the coastline. So I have a strong gut feeling Revnak is going to be utilizing water. Maybe not right away. Definitely no dock out from him right now, but certainly for map control, I could see him getting some warships, maybe even sending 2 caravels. And he does have the 1 frigate in his deck as well. Outpost going down right on the coast. Meanwhile, this barracks from Chef going way in towards the center of the map. So we have one player kind of consolidating the trading post side, one player consolidating the water. If I had to pick, I would pick Revnak's forward base simply because it's just way more threatening to Chef's future expansion. He's going to really struggle once he's got to move out here for Hunt unless he can secure this half of the map, which he has started to do with his outpost. But starting to produce Rodella Rose from Revnak, and Chef also producing Rodella Rose. It looks like he is going to send the 5 wood. Meanwhile, Revnak starting with, or no, sorry, 5 wood. Yeah, what a shipment, 5 whole wood. 5 villagers, and Revnak is sending the 700 wood, so a little bit of differentiation there. And the 5 Rodella Rose doing a little bit of early pestering, not going to get any vill kills. They're actually not that great for killing villagers, although they did bell up those villagers for a moment, losing a couple of rods there. Maybe not the best play there to lose those rods to TC fire. But now, oh my goodness. Okay, so Revnak is sending 7 Rodella Rose, making 5 more, so he's going to have quite the mass of rods here. And no rods coming out from Chef. Oh, he's going 5 vill, 4 vill, so very greedy here from Chef. 5 War Dogs from Revnak, along with 10 Rodella Rose. And if Chef does not do anything here, he could lose this forward outpost. I don't know. Well, I mean, Rodella Rose, they only have 10 siege attack, but outcome 5 from Chef. Chef also now sending 7 Rodella Rose. He's got his original 5, and here comes the pincher. But more Rodella Rose on the way from Revnak. It looks like this outpost won't go down quite yet. The 5 War Dogs are going to put down some DPS and take some damage. But this outpost, maybe it's going to go down after all. A huge mass of Rodella Rose here for the early game. We are at the 7-minute mark, and Revnak already having 15 rods on the map along with his War Dogs, and in a really good position to take out this forward base. More rods on the way, and Chef just does not have the numbers to defend this base. He's got 4 War Dogs coming out, 5 Rodella Rose coming out of the barracks, is not going to save the outpost. Those 7 Rodella Rose are going to have to come all the way from the town center to help in this fight. Meanwhile, the War Dogs getting on these rods, and actually, Chef taking a decent engagement here, but now the numbers from Revnak going to force Chef to retreat. He really wants those 7 rods to join in the fray. If they had been able to pop out of that outpost, it would have made the fight way more even-sided, perhaps even in Chef's advantage. But now, Chef going to get the reinforcements, and I think Revnak's going to pull away, and more coming out from the barracks. So now it's Chef that has the advantage, and Revnak being forced to pull back, but now Revnak has reinforcements, and the Rod Wars are continuing. It looks like Chef is sending the infantry upgrade card. Meanwhile, Revnak has already sent it. So Revnak's rods are going to be superior, but simply numbers here for Chef. Gonna pull back, stay away from the double barracks that Revnak now has up on top of the outpost, and just the sole barracks for Chef. So losing that outpost, and now his town center is going to be under threat from this huge mass of rods. Is he gonna get those villagers in? Come on, no, Chef, oh, I'm gonna lose a vill here, possibly 2. Oh, man. It is currently 33 vills for Revnak and only 28 for Chef, even though he sent the 5 vill, 4 vill before Revnak did. So interesting. But now we have Chef getting out some of his market upgrades, his steel trap. Where even is his market? Where does he have a market? Oh, he's got one way in the back there. Okay. Well, things are looking pretty interesting for both Chef and Revnak. I definitely think Revnak has the early advantage, especially if he can take down this barracks, which is now completely isolated. And I think Chef's just going to give it up. He's got the emergency barracks coming down in his base. More rods coming out. Both now have the upgrade. 700 coin coming out for Chef and 700 coin coming out for Revnak. So both, I think, are going to transition this Age 2 rod play into what looks to be Age 3. Whew, I need to stay hydrated. These games are intense. All right, trading post under attack here from Revnak, just continuing to pressure Chef, whether it's his town center or his forward base or his trading post. He wants to make use of those Age 2 units. He doesn't just want them to sit there while he transitions. But one thing I want to point out for Chef is he does have the advantage of 3 trading posts versus Revnak's 1. So there are some advantages here for both players. Right now, the villager advantage definitely goes to Revnak. He has a 6 villager advantage, but Chef has a 2 trading post advantage. So, and I would definitely say Revnak is in charge of the map right now. Certainly has more map control just with his forward base and just the spread of his villagers. And now Chef coming in, going to try to defend this trading post. He currently has 43 rods against the 34 of Revnak. So he has the edge here, along with Minutemen and Dogs if he gets a good engagement. But Revnak doing a nice job microing one rod to slow the army down. But once again, his main force is snared, and he's sacrificing some rods to try to get his main force away. But Chef is not giving up. He is continuing to pursue Revnak, and this is a really great pursuit here, getting a lot of free damage in. And now Revnak just having to be forced all the way to his base, even his villagers being forced off of the hunts. And meanwhile, both players have not gotten the resources to age quite yet. They're both still about 500 resources away from aging, both in food and coin. War Dogs coming out here for Revnak, but not going to slow down Chef's army by too much. Those Minutemen are doing such a number on the rods for Chef, but now Revnak has his own Minutemen out, and this looks like it's going to be a fairly easy cleanup for Chef, despite the Minutemen arrival from Revnak. More War Dogs coming in, but the Minutemen are still putting in damage in the back. He needs to get some rods back there to take those guys out quickly now that they are at 1 HP. But they are continuing to be protected by Chef, and they are getting so much free damage here, and it is looking like a victory for Chef in this Age 2 battle. And if this transitions into Age 3, this bonus of units for Chef is going to play a major advantage, and all of the rods for Revnak going down. He's being forced off of this far hunt, and what an excellent engagement for Chef. Now, whether he pushes any farther, I don't know. I think he's bitten off maybe as much as he can chew at this point. More resources coming in for Revnak, but look at this reinforcing batch of rods coming out for Chef. So perhaps no Age 3 play after all. We're seeing a complete investment into the Age 2 rod play, and it might pay off for the Chef. Look at what this guy is cooking. Ladies and gentlemen, even going to get a Vil pick off here if he sees it. Oh no, that one villager cutting wood. He blended in with the trees. Is he going to survive? Is he going to live? No. They surrounded him. Poor lumberjack. Oh man. We loved you while we knew you. Meanwhile, what is Revnak doing? He's built a bit of a coastal battery here. Look, we got the 2 caravels, and even migrating most of his villagers that are on food over to this safe position. This is really risky for Revnak. If he loses this forward base, he's going to have to migrate these villagers all the way back. But now, with the 2 caravels and the outposts, Chef cannot stay in this position. He's got to get out of there. Those 2 caravels would do a huge number on his force. Maybe going to pick up a couple more Vils here. The Vil count is now 42 to 34, still in favor of Revnak. I can't talk today. But a really nice pickup there for Chef, and Chef definitely gaining some momentum. Revnak picking up another trading post, so the trading post battle is now 3-2 in favor of Chef. So, I mean, each player has their own advantages. This is a really good back and forth. Revnak had the early advantage, and now we kind of see Chef in the driver's seat. But we do see Revnak recovering, getting down a dock, perhaps going to get out some fishing boats. And now both players still okay, so they're both now aging up, halfway aged. I was wondering, it seemed a little bit weird that their resources were so low, but they did just hit the age up button. Both are aging to the 3rd age, one with Admiral of the Oceans for Revnak, and one for the Adventurer for Chef. So one going into land and one going into sea. 2 shipments are prepared for Chef when he ages up. What is he going to send? Ladies and gentlemen, he is sending, okay, so he's sending another upgrade, and he is sending refrigeration. Very interesting. Meanwhile, Revnak is going to be sending, oh no, Revnak does not have a shipment. Okay, so Chef definitely going to be ahead when it comes to shipments, but look at this fortress Revnak is putting up. Walls equal wins, by the way. He's got the artillery foundry, 2 barracks, 3 caravels, which are all currently fishing. Doesn't want to keep them idle. And now we have veteran rods for Chef, veteran rods coming in for Revnak as well. 9 rods coming in, so definitely investing more in the military. But now skirmisher production is coming out for Chef. The one thing I'm worried about for him is that his military infrastructure is actually quite lacking. He's only got the 1 barracks compared to the 2 barracks and the artillery foundry for Revnak. Getting out skirmishers now going to be really helpful in the rod wars, along with the 8 expos that he aged up with. So still a really close game. This is why I love high-level mirrors. I know mirrors can be boring, but when they are this skilled and this close, they can be so entertaining. So the Expo is going to get engaged now with the rods, and especially these skirmishers going to do a lot of damage for free against these rotoleros. And now Revnak is going to have to get back. 2 falconets now coming out, so going to be able to ward off those light infantry if they are getting engaged. But a lot of rods going down for free here. Nice pickup for Chef. And Chef definitely needs to start moving out and putting on some pressure. His hunts are pretty much gone at this point, and his only hunts now are these berries. Oh, wow, so he doesn't actually have any real hunts. Okay, so Chef is in a bit of a food crisis actually at this point, and with Revnak having both fishing boats and plenty of hunts on his side of the map, I think I could see Revnak starting to get an edge here if this map control continues in favor of Revnak. Currently 55 villagers for Rev, and only 39 for Chef. So a substantial villager advantage in favor of Revnak. And I don't know, if that continues, Chef is going to find himself in a very tough spot. Yes, he has the military advantage right now, but if, give or take another 3 or 4 minutes, and I could see Rev taking on a significant advantage here. Colves coming out for Revnak, and more upgrades coming out for Chef, along with some Colves of his own. He's got a nice batch of skirmishers. He's still got plenty of rods. Meanwhile, it looks like Revnak is going strictly rod and gun play, and by guns, I mean artillery. 3 Colves coming out. This is really interesting. I don't know where they go from here. I think Chef has to push. I don't think he can afford to sit back. I think if he sits back, he's just going to get outboomed. You can't let Revnak have water control and hunt superiority and expect to win, just because you have 1 extra trading post. And now Revnak's sending rendering plats, so making his fishing boats even more efficient. Meanwhile, Chef's sending 2 falconets, so both players now investing in lots of artillery here, although we do know that when it comes to Culver and Micro, Revnak is one of the best in the business. He is incredibly good with managing his artillery and keeping them safe. But Chef, don't sleep on Chef. But now we see the push is coming in. He makes sure to stay away from that coastline. He definitely doesn't want those 3 Colves getting engaged. But now we see the rods going in for a strike on the artillery foundry. And here we go. The caravels are going to not get engaged quite yet. Maybe he wants to keep them safe from the Culverins, but the artillery foundry coming out. Culverins going to try to flank and pick off some of these cannons. But no. Okay, so... All right, Revnak played that very passively. I think it's because he knows he has very few infantry compared to Chef. 1 Culverin going down for Chef. And these walls going to be very pesky, but it looks like 1 Culverin is going to get caught out. Now the rod's getting engaged along with the caravels, and these skirmishers, if they're allowed to fight freely, they are going to do so much damage. And now the unfinished walls are going to cost Revnak, although Chef's army is starting to get divided a little bit. He still has 1 Culverin left, putting a huge amount of damage on the caravel. 1 caravel goes down. And there is a huge army here for Chef. 1 Culverin still alive. It does now go down, but 2 Culverins down for Revnak. The artillery foundry is down. No more cannons coming out. The barracks is going to go down as well. And Revnak is now on the back foot once again. A very nice engagement for Chef. Both players lost all of their artillery, but I definitely think Chef got the better trade, although he needs these trades because it is currently 46 vills to 78 for Revnak. Now, yes, a lot of that is in fishing boats, but that is a huge discrepancy when it comes to economy. And Revnak already replacing his artillery, 5 falconets coming out for the red Spanish player. Meanwhile, the reinforcements for Chef are much, much slower. He does have a second town center down, but so does Revnak. Wow. Okay, so the stalemate continues, ladies and gentlemen. We are at 20 minutes, and this game is not decided, not even close. All right, so does one player go industrial? Is that the question? Or do we just see this back and forth? 89 economic population versus 49 for Chef. That is such a huge margin. And now the monitor. No, sorry. Excuse me. The frigate coming out for Revnak. So his supremacy of the seas is all but confirmed. Even going to start fishing very, very close to Chef's base. Chef going to poke in here, but he sees the cannons, and I think he's immediately going to be turned back. He's got so many vulnerable units here that one good volley, either on his rods or his skirmishers, would be devastating. And Revnak does have enough rods to protect those skirmishers. Meanwhile, getting a trading post down in the center of their map, has the barracks back up, has the artillery foundry back up. Perhaps not going to get this trading post up after all. Yep, gonna kill a Vil there. But one Culverin going down, and, okay, so Revnak now has 3 Culverins of his own out, is able to surprise attack one of Chef's, and a Culv trade there. We now have 2-1, which is actually going to be bad for Chef, because now he really has no effective counter to these 5 Falconets that are still in the back of the map. 1 Culv versus 2. But the Culv macro for Revnak proving superior in this instance, and even calling some of his Minutemen to just body block and maybe try to get some of these Falconets in position, hold the skirmishers down so that these Falconets, just one good volley, could sway this fight. And Chef not actually getting a lot of accomplished out here. He's mainly just killing a lot of walls. 53 to 92 economic unit population, and the clock continues to tick for Chef. If he does not get something done, he will be overwhelmed, especially now the frigate is directly assaulting the blue player's base, taking out some of these outlier buildings, just going to continue to hem Chef into the corner. And these 5 Falconets just causing this blue army to flee. They have no good answer, and no player investing in cavalry yet, especially with how many rods are on the field. And more Culvs, 4 Culvs coming out for Chef. He's going to have to control these very, very carefully. He cannot give away their existence too soon, but with all of these walls, Revnak has a ton of line of sight. And I think he is going to see these Culvs. Let's see, does he see them? All right, the Culv's still hidden for now. And he sees one. He's got to assume that there are more. Meanwhile, the red trading post is under assault from one Spanish explorer, so we'll keep you up to date on that one. But still a ton of skirmishers out for Chef, a ton of veteran rods, 4 Culverins versus basically a huge mass of cannons, 5 Falconets, 2 Culvs, and a ton of rods. Both players looking like they're saving up for an investment into the 4th age. Now getting upgrades like gaslighting, town watch, more Culvs coming out, more villagers coming out for Chef, trying to breach that gap as best he can, trying to take out these walls so that his infantry can move around more freely. But now here comes the Culv play from Revnak. Is he going to be able to snipe another one of Chef's Culvs away from him? No, Culv's getting away here from Chef. Nice job from him, but there are now 6 Culverins on the field for Revnak. Chef taking one out at the cost of one of his own, and now taking out 2. So a good 2-to-1 trade there for Chef, but Revnak still at 4 Culvs to Chef's 3, and it is now 2-to-2. And the Rodeleros are now engaged. The skirmishers are actually in a great spot to put down lots of DPS. Still 1 Culverin alive, but these 5 Falcs are now going to do a number on these rods, doing so much damage. And another fairly even trade for both players. I actually think that might have been a little bit better for Chef. He took out 6 Culvs for the price of 3. That was actually really good micro by him. More rods, more Culvs. And Revnak has clicked the button. He is going up to age 4. He's going to bite the bullet. Meanwhile, Chef is sending Unction which does... Oh, okay. So he's going to be going into missionaries now? Is that why he researched that? Huh. Okay, we're going to be seeing missionaries out of Chef. That is... Oh no, we're going to be seeing missionaries out of Revnak. Okay, interesting. Even starting to put down plantations. So, ladies and gentlemen, buckle your seats. We might be in for the late game here. Wow. We are seeing a really, really contentious match here. And getting to see late game Spain, not something I get to see super often. But Revnak halfway, or actually 3/4 of the way aged. It looks like Chef is now researching Unction himself. So both players going to start utilizing missionaries. We now have 6 Culves out for Chef, and we have only 5 Falcons out for Revnak. Oh no, there are the Culves and the missionaries. Okay, so the armies are getting stranger and stranger. This little pack of war dogs is actually going to go down for, whoa, excuse me, camera. Is going to go down for Revnak. So a nice little pickup there for Chef. Oh, look at these sneaky rods. Going to try to get in on the Culves, but they're going to be caught by the skirmishers and gunned down. Another very nice pickup for Chef. And now we got to see if Chef is going to follow up with an H4 of his own. He almost has the resources, and he's going to click up. Any minute now. Yes. Okay, clicking up with the War Minister. So I don't think he'll engage right now. I think he's going to wait. Make sure he has his upgrades. And, yep. So the elite H4 upgrades for rods and for falconets are already coming in for Revnak. Definitely, if you're Chef, you don't want to take an engagement until you are in H4 as well. But going to be doing a little bit of minor damage on the side here. And in terms of map control, both players have kind of established their own corner of the map. Both players now having to invest in plantations. We're probably going to see a transition to mills at any point now. Only a couple of sparse animals left on the map. And now this middle town center for Chef, which contains 21 villagers, is at risk. This much artillery is going to be able to take down that building very, very quickly. Missionaries, veteran skirms, veteran rods, and lots of Culves out for Chef, but tons of Culves out for Revnak as well, along with these falconets and these missionaries of his own. But now, here comes the engagement. The rods are going to get involved, as are the skirmishers, as are the Culves, and it is looking really, really ugly for Chef here. Revnak getting a great engagement here, but out come the Minutemen and the villagers. They are going to get right on these cannons, and the villagers are going to try to melee these cannons down. One field gun is going to go down for sure. Missionaries coming in, and now we have the veteran skirmishers, and now we have the veteran rotoleros, and the skirmishers are putting a ton of damage down. The rods for Revnak are down. The field guns are going down as well to these villagers meleeing it, along with the Minutemen and the rotoleros, and in a crazy turnaround, Chef was able to take that engagement. Holy Hannah. That was insane. I really thought Revnak had him dead to rights. I really underestimated the effect of these missionaries on these veteran skirms and just the amount of damage that the veteran skirms were able to do. And I think it's because Revnak had his falconets focused on that town center for so long and not focused on the main engagement. Therefore, the skirms were able to clean up the rotoleros, and those villagers coming out on the falconets, a really nice play for Chef. Chef now at 84 economic population versus 109 for Revnak. Mills going down in the back of his base. And it looks like Chef has not made the transition to mills here, eating up the last of these berries before he has to make that investment of wood. And now we have guard skirmishers out on the map. We have what looks to be the guard Rodelero upgrade coming in. And Revnak's army is looking very, very sparse. He's got veteran musketeers and missionaries, but he's actually quite low on resources, very low on resources. And now these villagers are going to get assaulted, fleeing to the frigate, but a lot of villagers going down here. A really nice rod raid for Chef. More villagers going down. Now 96 population to 88. The gap is starting to close dramatically, and a lot of the fish that were on this water are now eaten up, forced to now go to the coin, which is not as effective. And so as we see the water becoming less and less valuable, we're seeing Chef take more and more of an even game here versus Revnak. And with that engagement, and with his ability to take out all of that artillery, I think things are starting to sway in Chef's favor. Homesteading now and heavy horse guns coming out for Revnak. Meanwhile, we see bookkeeping and we see Golden Rider coming out for Chef, along with villagers from 1, 2, and 3 town centers now. So this could be the moment where Chef swings the game. Revnak is definitely on the defensive here. He has 1 factory out, tons of infrastructure in the back of his base, but he has surrendered a lot of map control here. He's gonna have to get these villagers away. Now the rods are upgraded to their age 4 upgrade, which is the Espadachín? I do not know how to say that. And with this group of guard skirmishers, those rods for Revnak are going to find themselves very, very ineffective. But I don't know. I think Revnak's making a huge tech switch here. I think he's going all in on the Lancer musket play, and this could catch Chef off guard if he's been used to dealing with a heavy artillery army and now a mobile, very high DPS cavalry force. I don't know, might catch him sleeping. Second factory coming in for Revnak. Meanwhile, factories coming in for Chef as well, getting seed drill, putting down mills and plantations of his own. But it must be pointed out that Chef did not have to make that transition quite as early as Revnak did. Although I think Revnak has definitely finished that transition, while Chef is still having a lot of investing to do. And what a great catch by Chef, taking out 2 heavy horse guns. And that is a beautiful, beautiful catch. And yeah, a lot of resources being wasted there. And now 5 culverins coming in. They have been upgraded to culverin royales, as have Revnak's, but numbers I think are just going to take the advantage here. And with this many rods, it's going to be very tough to get a good engagement with these veteran lancers. And these veteran musketeers, they do not have H4 upgrades, and they're going up against guard rods and guard skirms. So it's looking a little bit dicey here for Revnak, plus the missionaries giving the added bonuses to their armies and just so much artillery power here to start tearing down this infrastructure for Chef. But Chef definitely can't be reckless here. He's in the heart of his enemy's territory, and anything could pop out. Although Revnak does not have any unit shipments, he only has the factories. So let's see what we have here. Revnak looking like he's not going to engage Chef at all. Is he going for a base trade here? I don't think Revnak's going to engage at all. Going for this coin mine, ladies and gentlemen, we might see a huge villager raid here, though Chef does have a town center nearby. Let's see how close he gets his men. Get away, villagers, get away, get away, get away. All right, gonna get most of the vills away here. Nice job by Chef. Way to notice that before Revnak was able to just annihilate those vills. Meanwhile, a huge raid coming down here after Chef was able to destroy that town center. It is now 57 to 94. And I think that the game has definitively swung in Chef's favor. Revnak is certainly not out of it. He still has a very powerful army. But with that loss of villagers, and with many of his fishing boats being much less effective than they were 10 minutes ago, I like the position Chef's in. The better comp, the better units, the better upgrades. And now a huge raid coming in for Revnak. So as I said that, the villager gap is evening out, is now 55 to 73, and the villager massacre has begun. But now the rods are getting in on the lancers here, and they're going to be able to do a lot of damage, but the skirmishers need to get there to try to put down some DPS on the veteran musketeers, who are now guard musketeers along with guard lancers. But these Rodeleros are just continuing to harass the musketeers, and the musketeers are choosing not to fire, simply trying to get away while the skirmishers are catching up along with the culverins. And now we are going to see the big engagement here if Chef continues to push. Now we have musketeers filing in past these culverins, only to get immediately annihilated. A bit of weird micro there from Revnak. And now the big engagement is here. Ladies and gentlemen, Rod Skirm versus Lancer and Musketeer plus culverins. and the rods are just going to decimate these lancers, but lots of rods going down to the musketeer fire, along with the missionaries boosting their soldiers on both sides. Now we have horse guns coming in from Revnak, and he might have just enough to sway this fight. A lot of rods going down for Chef here, and these guard skirmishers are going to be very vulnerable. Still plenty of lancers left, but now more rods coming in to try to reinforce, and these rods might be weakened enough to take out these rods might be weakened enough that the skirmishers can take them out. The heavy horse guns now getting involved, all of the coals going down, and Revnak making a bit of a comeback. Ladies and gentlemen, the momentum is swaying back in Revnak's favor just a bit. The economic population is 68 to 55, and Chef is immediately starting to slam down more rods. But what a great engagement there for Revnak. This has been so back and forth. Both players have been winning their engagements and doing very well, switching their compositions up constantly. So now it is heavy horse gun, musketeer, and rod versus what looks to be rod and guard skirm. I definitely think that Revnak has the more powerful army here, but now with these culverins coming out for Chef, if he can focus those heavy horse guns, but they're going to be so vulnerable to these lancers. I think those Culves are going to go down quite quickly, but now that the rods are there to protect them, they might be able to survive. No, but on the bright side, all of those lancers now going down. The cavalry force for Revnak is depleted, and now that it's guard skirm versus guard musketeer, the skirmishers are going to have a huge advantage. The heavy horse guns putting down quite a bit of damage from the back, but there's only one of them, and it just went down. And now these musketeers are going to get decimated, and Chef has retaken the lead. And now with a 68 to 57 advantage, things are looking good for Chef once again. Both players putting in some crazy micro here and really giving it their all in this Spain mirror. But I think Chef is going to take this game. It is looking really good for him. Revnak is struggling to get food, only at 500 food right now and only at 1,300 coin. He is not going to be able to reinforce his army very quickly. And now skirmishers are being slammed down from Revnak with more rods coming out from Chef. So I think Revnak is going to try to make one more big composition shift here to try to seal the game. But I think he's simply lost too much. Meanwhile, Chef continuing to pile on the pressure and pick off as many musketeers as he can, because as many resources as he can drain from Revnak, when Revnak is struggling to gather resources, it's just going to make Chef's advantage larger and larger. The rods continuing to be pesky, and it looks like Revnak has hit the revolt button. Ladies and gentlemen, the revolt has come out from Revnak. A last-ditch action is going to try to win this game here. The colonial militia, the revolutionaries are piling in, and Chef choosing not to pull back here, going to try to cut away with his skirmishers and body block with his rods as best as he can. But I don't think Revnak has enough villagers here to really make any substantial progress. We do see the Hussar of Death coming in, but look at this reinforcing batch of Lancers. And now Chef is in the Imperial Age. We have Imperial Espadachín, and that is the game. Once again, the Imperial Age is the final nail in the coffin. Holy cats, wow, a 38-minute, high-level, top 10 player Spanish mirror. Can you ask for anything better? Oh my goodness. Really exciting Second Age, really exciting Fortress Age, a really exciting Industrial Age, and a Revolt and an Imperial Age up to finish it out. Wow, what a game, what a game. All right, guys, let's cover the stats real quick. Follow me to the post game. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have taken a moment to catch my breath. And here we are in the post game, and wow, what a close game it was. If we look at the resources, 94,000 for Chef, 97,000 for Revnak. In a game with that many resources, 3,000 is pretty negligible. So pretty much identical in terms of resources. When we look at military, almost identical, just a 14 unit difference between them, 391 versus 405 for Revnak. And if we go to the timeline here, we look at the villager count. Revnak took a substantial early lead, and then some huge raids came in, and Chef was able to keep the late game edge. I really thought that with that early economy, with that water economy, Revnak was just going to snowball, but those couple of key engagements for Chef really made a huge difference. And we can see in the military graph that right here, this was the engagement at the 27-minute mark, at the same time where he was in a huge economic advantage. When Revnak took this really bad fight, this is where things really started to go bad. And you can see he only took back the military advantage once at the very end of the game. For the final 11 minutes, Chef almost always had more units. And then with the age 5, that's when we really see things go down the drain for Revnak. But wow, what an amazing game from both players. This is why I love, just every once in a while, I love going back to the top level games. I don't want to do them every week because then it just, you know, it doesn't have that special feeling when you're just watching high level all the time. They all kind of start to bleed into each other. But wow, really well played by both players. That's awesome that Chef was able to pull out a win. Really great performance from Revnak as well. I really thought that last push with the horse guns and the lancers, he might be able to pull something off, but just didn't have enough steam to go all the way. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this double upload week. And remember, next week, to make up for lost time, we'll be having an upload on Tuesday, Thursday as well. So double matchup. I can't wait. If you guys have specific games you want me to pick, because I haven't quite picked which games I'm casting yet, please let me know in the comments below. Or if you want certain civs, I can look for certain games with those civs. Until then, though, guys, have a great day. Have a great life. See you later.